Are you lacking joy and happiness in life? Do you want to know the secret to living a long and happy, healthy life? Then stick around. Hey, change makers, are you open to transforming into a healthy and a happy you? I am Rajitha Bommakanti, registered nurse, faith-based holistic coach, founder of Healthy You Lifestyle Center, and National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach. If you want to develop healthy habits for life, one step at a time, then click the red subscribe button and bell icon right now. To learn the secret of living a healthy, long, happy life, we have invited Renee Pointdexter. She is the founder of Living the Potential Network, an intergenerational learning community. She is a publisher, accomplished teacher, facilitator, seminar leader, executive coach, and consultant. Now, let's welcome Renee Pointdexter. Welcome, Renee Beth. Many of us are struggling to find what is that joy, what makes us happy. We are constantly looking for something outside for that happiness. Wanted to check in with you. So tell me about that. What is that makes us happy, especially you are with the youngsters, youth, teenagers are on a roller coaster of emotions. They're very confused. So how can they pinpoint what is their superpower? What does that make them happy?
Great question, Rajitha. Thank you so much for having me here. Learning, I'm a former teacher and 6 years as a high school English teacher, and then really have been participating and observing how does learning really happen. And what I learned is learning is an inside out process. Of course, we are constantly combated with information coming towards us, as the integration, but it's like, I love to say, who is in the driver's seat of your life? Who, like how to bring who you are to what you do. And the opportunity, the other end of that, as we move towards career and college choices and so forth, teenagers are bombarded with trying to figure it out. And they're influenced by a lot of people who are experts who say, well, if you want to make a lot of money, you're going to go here. And if you want to, do as your father and your grandfather have done, you'll do this, or grandmother and mother, you'll do this. And I just was watching a show the other day where the mother was intent on her son becoming an attorney. And the son, did not displease his mother, but wanted to, develop he was a writer. He saw himself as a writer and a great novelist. So there's these opportunities to really consider how do we bring who we are to what we do, and ultimately get paid to be our contribution in the world. And what I've discovered, Rajitha, over the years, it is an inside-out process, and there's tools and resources that we use at Living the Potential. And the first step is learning to trust yourself. And just like there's no difference between snowflakes, right? Our thumbprints, we have unique fingerprints. We're unique beings. And that we have, should I say, a calling. I believe that we came here and there's some contribution that could become a calling that we bring forward in our life. And young people, I'd say around 5, 6, 7 years old, they're participating in there's clues there about who they are becoming. But then there's systems that people need to perform in to be compliant in order to get the stamp of approval that they can move forward in their life. And sometimes if you're fortunate enough to be with a teacher and in a school system that says, hey, let's see who you are. What are you curious about? What do you want to wonder? What are you wondering about? Allowing those personal inquiries to guide the learning. That is so exciting. It shows up in project-based learning and things like that. So over the years of what I've been witnessing is when people are allowed to have the questions and come from a place of, I don't know, but let's discover. And then we discover together, there's something really unique. And I have some tools. You might have heard of the Strength Finder. There's a fabulous tool that we use to help people discover. There's 34 basic themes that has been discovered. And when we find our top 5, they're really the possibility of strengths, but it's really it's talent and an investment, that time investment with talent that's inherent, that develops it into a strength. So for me, when I learned that, I was like, oh, strategy is my number one strength, and then connection. And so what I do is I help people connect with their inner landscape and bring the essence of who they are to their learning. And I have several tools on which to do that. And what I've noticed is that when people begin to trust themselves and bring forward that unique strength and go, oh, that's why I like music, or that's why, I really enjoy, analyzing data and looking at where technology is going. I'm naturally curious about that. And then some of the assessments I use, one of them tells you your core wiring. It'll tell you like your core wiring and how, if you were in a path that allowed you to bring that zone of genius, your core wiring, into your work, into your career, you would be on fire in your life. But sometimes what happens is, people try to be all things. They go through school, they try to, they're naturally good at some things, not so good at others. But if they're not good at everything, they judge and doubt themselves. And in our world at Living the Potential, we go, hey, let's discover what your natural propensity is, what you're naturally curious about. Let's look at your wiring. Let's look at your strengths. And then how do you apply that to what you want to learn? And who's looking for you for your contribution, for a career path, and so forth. So we're doing an inside out journey.
So is that done through the assessments that you give
Well,
people?
yeah, you can take assessments, but the idea is learning in community is a powerful place, So StrengthsFinder is one of the tools. The other is I'm a master facilitator for a tool called the Core Value Index. And it takes 10 minutes to do it. You can learn about it on my website, livingthepotential.com. And once you do the assessment, it's free. But the opportunity to really deepen what that really means, if there's an upgraded level of the assessment. And then in the conversation about, okay, I get my wiring, and how does this apply to what I'm naturally curious about? So there comes communication and collaboration and some, facilitation of deepening this awareness so it's embodied. It's not just an assessment. Okay, I know this. It's on the shelf. It's like how you integrate it into your life and the quality of decisions that you need to make. So I believe, to answer your question, having the information, embodying the information, conversing about the information in community with other people that may be wired differently than you, but you start to see them and their uniqueness, and then you start to own your uniqueness. And people one of the biggest things I've noticed, Rajitha, is people come forward knowing that they're unique, they have skills and ability, and they can play the game of life the way they want to, rather than trying to fit into other people's definitions of success. When you begin to own yourself from the driver's seat, there's a little bit difference in being in the back seat or the trunk of the car. You know what I mean? You have a voice, let's bring it forward. And the other piece about learning in community with these assessments, you start to see your capacity to make a difference with people. And let's face it, we are in a world that learning happens in relationship. So first with oneself, but then with another. You, Rajitha, and I have been in learning communities together, and it's enhanced our relationship and our contribution. So I think it's the assessment plus the embodiment plus the application plus learning in community makes all the difference in the world.
By doing that, they kind of get an understanding of themselves, that's what they love doing, because they need to be loving, as you and I know. You said, you go to college because your parents asked to, grandparents. You do that because you're getting, you're going to get certain dollar amount, whatever. There's some reason behind it, not because you love it. And you're not really happy through the whole
Right,
thing.
right, exactly. Well, I think it's a shift in mindset because um, the embodiment of going, who am I? Why am I here? What's my unique gift and talent? That's what's kind of grounding most coaching programs, right? I don't even think coaching would exist as a career if we had been able to do this inner inquiry in our learning journey of the 14,000 hours through K through 12. We would know who we are and what we're learning and why it matters. But what's missing is the meaning making, right? So people are jumping through hoops, they're getting their pieces of paper, their certificates, their grades, all of it. But it's like, who am I in all this, right? It's almost like they're having to prove that they're valuable in a game in which they don't even know what role they want to play. So I'm thinking, like, wait a second. If I can bring me to my learning, so how am I wired? What are my strengths? And then look at, oh, okay, I've got to do this history, and I've got to do economics, I've got to, whatever your courses are. You start to bring your essence to it, and you go, of course I'm going to learn about economics because I see my ability to solve problems in this arena because I have this wiring, I have innovative strengths, you know, or the idea of matching what your learning schedule is, whether you're in school or in a job or wherever you are. You start you to go like, okay, this is what I've got to do, but who am I being? Who am I being as I'm doing the doing? And if there isn't a match or whatever, it could be you're not in the right spot because it doesn't match your wiring, it doesn't match your strength. You sold out in a way to get a paycheck. It's not bringing you happiness, right? There's a lot of people since the pandemic going, I'm not going back to that job.
Yeah.
You know what? Life is short. I'm going to find something else. But they're still looking out there for what is the answer. I think you and I would agree that let's do a little inner investigation, like who are you? How are you wired? What are you most interested in? And who else cares about it? Those are the answers to the questions that we do from inside out. And I think from there, Rajitha, we find joy. We find, oh, I love being in this space because I have the wiring to be here and I have the strength to do it. And I like these people. I'm just not, some people like live their life from, here's my work, here's my friends, they see everything in compartments.
Mm.
I'm witnessing that if you bring the essence of who you are, it's like you spiral from the inside out. Like you come from your heart. What do you love? How do you appreciate your core values? You expand to how can I can I do with my time that will help me with my core values and my strengths? Who else cares about it? It spirals out. So we're not juggling and it's not separate. It becomes integrated. And I think the more integrated we can become with our core essence, the more happiness and joy we're going to have in our life. And I say all this, and this is kind of antithetical to our systems because our educational system, has been pretty much based on an industrial model, and what the truth of the matter is we're part of nature and we're not separate from nature. And the whole idea of being more of a biological model, that we're part of nature, we're not separate, and we can not be widgets on a conveyor belt. There's another way of being with this. So what I found, like one of our key leaders of our community, I have a youth advisory council, and she just turned 19, and I've been working with her since she was about 17. And she said the other day, I said, how has these tools and this process supported you? And she said, I can't imagine where I would be in my life had I not done this inner work because I was confused and trying to meet other people's definition of success and I wasn't finding joy. But once I started to do the inner work, she goes, what'd she say? I'm thriving. I'm in the center, I'm beaming. I have so much confidence as I'm moving forward in my college career. And she's also starting a nonprofit around her passion. And she's surrounded with people who care about her, not necessarily just her age group, but the intergenerational elements. Like, it's not so much about age, it's about energy. So she's surrounded and really clear about who she is, what she's doing, and what's next, spiraling from the inside out with her core values and health and well-being at the center, which is, some people like, oh, they don't always see like what you eat and how you take care of yourself is related to how you feel. But it's another important part, right?
Yeah.
If we're not living from a space of, here's my family, here's my career, here's my health, here's my spiritual, like all these as like separate balls that we're juggling, we start to see how they're integrated.
Mm.
And I think you and I have realized how important the well-being, the health and well-being commitment is, because it impacts how we learn, how we relate to people, you know, um, you know, whether we're stressed or not stressed. And life is, I think, designed to be a joyful adventure,
Yeah,
and
even
we're
like
not.
the basic thing about every day, um, if you are content and joyful, you feel so light.
Right,
That worry constantly drags you, drains you. Um,
right. What do we, when people are into worry, what are they worried about? It's usually something that happened in the past, or they're concerned about the future, and they're missing this whole present moment. And I think that's why they say grandparents make the best parents, because they can literally be present with their grandchildren. It's like, but when they were parents to their children, they were concerned, am I doing this right? I've got to get to work. There's so many other things that were pressing that they couldn't be present to the moment. And so I guess that's the movement now. It's like, let's, like, breathing, this idea of learning to breathe and be present and say, okay, who am I being right now? Get grounded in that. And then, what am I to do? And then look at your day or your list and go, I'm grateful, that I have this opportunity and the energy to do this. And may I be guided to give my best contribution and stop worrying, is this right? Is it good? Who cares? You know what I mean?
yeah.
We've got so much self-criticism and judgment that interferes with our present moment. And I invite people to just go, wow, give yourself a big hug, because there's only one of you. And let's discover your gifts and talent and how you can best share that with other people. And it will change your relationships with your family, with your children, especially. A lot of people are, not really connecting to the degree that they could, because they haven't learned to be their own best friend first. So you can actually be present to other people without an agenda, and just let the love flow, because that's what it's all about. That's
Yeah.
what I'm
One
finding
has
in
to be
20.
self-compassionate first
Right,
before they're compassionate to others. That's the only
exactly,
way it will flow, as you
exactly,
just said. Um,
exactly.
so it has to be first your inner work before you try to
Right, exactly,
correct
exactly.
others, point out to others for what
Right,
they're not doing
exactly,
right. That's a huge thing that we are missing nowadays. And
right.
thank you for all the work that you're doing, with
uh
the youth right now, bringing that forward, trying to have them connect to that inner being, because that age is very, very confusing. Um,
right,
and as they get older, you just get into that world of just
right.
work, work, and nothing else.
Right. I know, you miss it. It's like when you're a kid, you say, I can't wait to be an adult. And then you're an adult and go, oh man, I wish I was a kid again. So, in our work, we do this life spiral, which is my mentor, Brent Cameron, designed this life spiral. Whenever we would be doing an event with people of all ages, we would draw this spiral with chalk on a driveway, and so forth. and people of different ages would stand on the spiral. And it would be really interesting because let's say if you're a 18-year-old or a 14-year-old or a 10-year-old and you're on a spiral with a 50-year-old and a 60-year-old and a 70-year-old, having a conversation about the journey of life. So there's just this admiration of who are we being and designing a better world by bringing the essence of who we are, bringing really who we are to what we do in a creative way. It doesn't need to be competitive or judgmental or segmented, into different buckets. It's like what is it? It says, wisdom knows no age. You can hear brilliance from a 5-year-old, right? And you're going,
Yeah.
oh my goodness. Here I am in my, sixth, seventh decade, and that 5-year-old just spoke to me in a way that it will change my life forever.
Yeah.
So that's the power of, really being you in relationship to you and others who are saying, let's do this together. Let's figure this out.
Yeah.
I'll share my superpower if you'll share your superpower. What projects can we do to make the world a better place? That's the kind of environment that I love being in.
Thank you for sharing that information with us today so that, people start connecting with their inner self, trying to understand themselves first before they start going out and deciding what profession they want to be in, and try to understand what is their superpower, what do they
Right.
love doing in life. So these are
Right.
great nuggets you have given us here. Thank you for
Thank you.
coming today.
Thank you, Rajitha. It's a pleasure.
I am your faith-based holistic coach. Until next time, look deep within you and know, what do you love? What is that you're good at? That would be your superpower. That will be the purpose in life where you can live a healthy and a long life if you follow your life's purpose.